My name is Karel Knutson. I was drafted in the U.S. Army October 11th. That is when I went to Fort Snelling for my physical. I think there was 220 guys went down.
What year was that?
October 11th.
What year? 44?
42.
42.
And 120 of us went to Fort Snelling. We were late getting in, so we didn't get much physical that first day. So by 4 o'clock that afternoon, or 4:30, we took the oath, so I become Private Karel Knutson 37315851. And from there, we come home for a 2-week furlough to get rid of do our business, and went back in, reported back down Fort Snelling on October 26th. We were processed there and went on a troop train. I think it was the 28th of October. We went to Camp Adair, Oregon, which is about 90 miles south of Portland. We arrived there November 2nd. I was assigned to B Battery of the 361st Field Artillery 96th Division, which I remained with until I got my discharge January 12th, 1946. We trained up in Camp Adair, then we went up to the Artillery Firing Center at Yakima, Washington, and from there we went up to Fort Lewis, Washington for a short while, and then we went down to the Big Bend Desert in Oregon, and we done desert warfare for a month. Then we went back to Camp Adair again for not quite a month, if I remember correctly. Then we was back out to the Big Bend Desert for another 2 months of desert warfare. When we was done with that, we were shipped down to Camp White, Oregon, down by Ashland. There I think the wheels were turning and the war was getting over more or less in the deserts over in Europe. So from there we switched on to amphibious warfare. So we trained all up and down the California coast, wound up, I think we shipped out, there's numerous camps up and down the coast, but we shipped out, I believe, the 26th day of July, 1944, on the USS General Pope, which is a brand new ship, supposed to be able to outrun subs. So we started out on a straight line, and 2 days later we were zigzagging. We'd run into subs. And so we landed in Pearl Harbor, July 31st, 1944. We trained for a month in we were at a bivouac or area where we tent city, I guess is what I was trying to say. And then we shipped out sometime in July, in September, early September, if I remember correctly. We loaded onto LSTs, combat loaded. We no more than lifted anchor, and those of us, I was the chief of section on a 105 howitzer, and as soon as we lifted anchor and started out, they called us chief of sections in, and they says, we are going to invade the island of Yap. Yap is a little atoll in the Pacific where they use stones for money. We got as far as Eniwetok, took on supplies and mail and new orders. And new orders ordered us down to Manus Island off the coast of New Guinea. As I understand, the reason for that was we were now scheduled to invade Leyte Island in the Philippines, and they didn't have enough forces merged or got together for that. So we was down off the coast of Manus, and we got off that LST for 2 beer one afternoon ration. Other than that, we were on that LST 269 for 39 days and 39 nights. It was a 2-hour off. Otherwise, we were topside the LST in a framework made out of boards, 3 cots, old army cots wide, and side by side. So the middle guy, he had to crawl over somebody to get to his bunk. We crossed the equator going both directions. We steamed up and made the invasion of Leyte Island on October 20th, 1944. And I believe that we have 120 days of combat on Leyte. We combat loaded out of Leyte on the 17th day of March. We were headed for the invasion of Okinawa.
What happened at Leyte? What was your job on Leyte?
What was my job?
Yeah.
I was the chief of section on a 105 howitzer. I have a record of the number of rounds we fired on. I can't quote them, but I can quote the number we fired on Okinawa.
Did you have much resistance?
Oh, terrible, terrible. The Japanese, on all the previous islands, including Leyte, defended their beaches very, very much. But on the way to Okinawa, we were in a typhoon, and a bunch of us got sick for food poisoning. We didn't think we'd make the invasion, but we did. Anyway, we invaded Okinawa April 1st, April Fool's Day, D-Day, 1945. That lasted, I think, 90 days. And absolutely, we never had a relief on either Leyte or Okinawa. Of course, the artillery had it easier. I have nothing but the highest respect for the infantrymen. They carried the load. So we were on, I think, 90 days, 96 days on Okinawa. Then we loaded the rest.
When you were on Okinawa, did your group take small arms fire?
When we was on, the artillery is normally back quite a ways.
Okay.
On the islands, there was no quite a ways back.
Right.
And it so happens that our commanding officer of B Battery, every time he had a chance, he would move us up forward. In fact, he moved us up one time we could not even fire. And we were taking rifle fire, zinging off our camouflage poles. But normally, we were not subject to small arm fire. We were subject to a lot of howitzers and mortars and like that. But our casualties weren't too much. I lost the first man out of my section on October 29th on Leyte. So we had that experience.
Did you ever
I lost several more on Okinawa.
Did you take any shrapnel yourself?
No, I absolutely come out of it skates. I had no problems other than I got a foot smash, but that wasn't due to enemy action. So we had as far as I'm concerned, and I believe, we saw the most combat there was on Okinawa. There was hundreds of ships out there. We had all kinds of kamikaze pilots crash landing in the ships, crash landing in our areas, strafing us, all this and that. But the Japs' theory, I guess they changed their way of doing things. They decided to, on Okinawa, they would not defend the beaches. They decided to let us pour as many troops as we could in, and they figured in a year's time we would get disgusted and put our tail between our legs and run for home. Well, we know that did not happen. So we loaded onto an LST heading for the island of Mindoro. On the way to Mindoro, a message come over the PA system, the U.S. just dropped an A-bomb on Hiroshima. We wanted to know what in the hell an A-bomb was. Well, we all know now, but at that time it was something very strange for us. We were scheduled to make the invasion of Japan proper, I think January or February of '46. Because they dropped the A-bombs, it never happened. I started home on points, 59 points, on the 7th of December from Mindoro. We took an old cattle ship for 3 days or 4 days from Mindoro back to Lady, which was a Ripple Depot. And I was on Lady till the 18th day of December when I loaded the USS Barnstable for the trip to Frisco. We landed either the 5th or 7th day of January and took a troop train to Camp McCoy, Wisconsin. I got my discharge about the 4 o'clock in the afternoon of the 12th day of January, 1946. I boarded a troop train for Minneapolis, St. Paul, and then a private train to Bemidji. I arrived in Bemidji on January 13th at about 5:30 in the morning. It was a minus 37 below. So from then on, I've been a private citizen. Anything more you'd like to know?
Well, it's been an honor to be here, to be with you today and to listen to your story. You have a fantastic memory to pull out all those dates like that.
Well, I guess I do have a long-term memory. Mm-hmm. My short-term memory, David, is not as good anymore.
Neither is mine, so to speak.
When I was in Bemidji as a 2-year-old, we had Mrs. Clarence Johnson. She was a young lady. She has passed away now, but a few years back I met her and she said, "Carol, I remember," she babysat, "I remember, Carol, you had the best memory. You could remember everything." I said, "Mrs. Johnson, there ain't nothing wrong with yours either." So, yeah.
Thank you very much for doing this.
You're most welcome, David. I been waiting for this.
Yep.
Hopefully, it's
for the young people to understand what's taking place.
Well, I hope the young people. You can't never tell them what it was like.
Yeah. No.
No, you can't have them. I was very fortunate to be in a field artillery. They're not right up on the front lines. I did spend 3 days and 3 nights up with the FOs, but they didn't push off. The morning I got relieved, they pushed off. So anyway,
Okay.
Is it still going?
Yeah.
I had one time when I was going up for that forward observer job, they took me with a Jeep as far as they could, and then they left me off, but I had a 45-pound pack radio on my back, and going across this open clearing.
And where is this?
Back, that was on,
Okinawa?
yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, that was on Okinawa. There was a tank, a burned out or disabled tank laying there, and I was just going by that, and the ruts were probably 6-8 inches deep. I was walking in that tank tracks, and I just got past the tank, and whop! A round went by me, so close it was very close. I hit the deck, and I laid there, and I didn't move for quite a while, and I'm sure that the Japs thought they got me, and they done their attention somewhere else, and I finally got up and scrambled to the next spot. So that's the only close call I had that I know of. That was close. In 1984, 40 years after the invasion of Leyte, we went back to Leyte Island. Well, we went to Luzon and then down to Leyte, and that's where we celebrated October 20th. There was a big celebration depicting MacArthur's coming ashore and all this and that. The natives were overdone themselves with just all kinds of food and whatnot, and couldn't be nicer to us. Well, part of our tour, we were supposed to go to Luzon and Manila, and we got back there, and then we were going to go to northern Luzon for a tour. The 180 of us couldn't go to the Baguio Hotel, which is way up. It's an R&R area in northern Luzon. So part of us went to a little beautiful seaside resort for the first night, and for the second night we were to go to Baguio and join the rest of the troops. So that was a beautiful time down at that seaside resort. But we went up to Baguio, got in it's way up in the mountains. We got there, I would guess, around 5 or 5:30. Checked into the hotel, was given rooms on the first floor, and they were horrible, terrible. The springs was just pushed down on you, went right to the floor. And, light fixture was coming out the ceilings. So I went by my friend's room that I had invited to come along on this tour. Him and his wife went by their room, and they said, "Karel, wait, we want to go change our room too." So we changed our room. They assigned us to 6th floor. On the 6th floor, we were at the the west end of the hallway, and it was a long hall, and Cos and Cindy were on the west end. Right outside of our door was a door going down a concrete fire escape, but no fire doors or anything. Down at the end where Cos and Cindy were was a stairway concrete staircase going down, but it only went to the 4th floor. And the elevator was right there, so we got together and went down and had supper. Cos was singing to Cindy while we were eating, and I said, well, Cos, I'm going to bed. And he said, I'm going to play a game of cards first, Carl. And so about 11:30 that night, Dolores, my wife, woke me and says, Carol, I smell smoke. I says, don't pay any attention, that's just some gook burning something. And so I got out of bed and looked out, and here I could see the flames coming out of floors below us. Well, Dolores and I tried to leave the room. We did leave the room, and I looked down that fire escape, and it was just a wall of smoke. We would have never made it. And so I went down to the other end, and I started down that cement stairs. I knew I probably couldn't make it, but I might get help or something. Met a wall of people coming back up. And they said, go on up, you can't make it. So we started back up with that group, half a dozen people or whatever. And we missed our 6th floor when we went back up. We wound up on the 7th floor, which was the last floor on the hotel, the highest most. So smoke was rolling out of the light fixture, smoke was rolling out of the elevator. I said, Mom, we aren't going to last very long standing here, so I tried to brush a door down. I was butting my shoulder against it, and about the 2nd bunt, a guy opened up, and he let us in. Well, a little Chinaman run in, shuffled in with us, and then he turned around and shuffled right back out. Well, he was a casualty. We got in that room, and a guy said, don't you let anybody else in here. So they were busy tying sheets together, and I grabbed the bathtub faucet and I turned the water on full bore, and I grabbed a bunch of towels and washcloths and wet them down and packed them around the door opening. Well, the smoke got so thick in there anyway, it was hanging about a foot above the floor. Anyway, in the process of tying sheets together, we noticed on the floor next to us was our tour director and his wife, and she had wrapped a blanket around a suitcase, and she was hollering, please save these, they're all our passports, our records, and everything was in it. Well, it was saved. And then we invited them to come over into our room, bring their sheets, which they did. And each floor had about a 2-foot ledge of half 6-inch tile or 4-inch tile. So they come over, they tied the sheets together. I did not tie any. I was busy trying to tell my wife and his wife how to go down rope and sheet. And my wife was not paying any attention. She was basically out of it. His wife did. And well, my tour director, better back up a little bit here. We got the sheets tied together. He stood on a ledge and I held him, and he let the sheets down and then about that time, through the smoke on it was the backside of the hotel, just the flames, showed us that there was 2 Filipinos laying a rope out. So I hollered to them, and I got a pretty loud voice, and I finally made them understand, tie the sheets, a rope to the sheets. Well, they did. We got it up a little ways and the rope fell down. Had to go back down again. Finally got it up, tied it all around. Tour director wanted to go down first, which he did, and he had forgot his military training, and he had to swing in on a ledge every 3 floors. So the next one down was his wife, and she remembered and followed the instructions perfect, and she went down with no problem, just a little bruise on her thigh. Well then, I didn't know what I was going to do, how I was going to get my wife down. I knew she couldn't take the rope, she wasn't strong enough. But I knew if I went down first, I could not do anything to help her. So I decided she should go next. She got on, climbed out the window, one leg went under the rope, the other leg flung out over the ledge, and she laid on her hands. She said, "Carol." I said, "Mom, get on top the rope." She said, "Carol, I can't. And she went absolutely out, completely. So I don't remember leaving the room, but I did. And I got down a little too far, a little bit too much momentum. And when I come to, I was working my way back up, and I got back up, so I was boosting on her legs and her bottom and got her off and on the rope, and that Filipino-American whose rope we got in, he helped spin her around. We got her on top of the rope, and we started down. I had her on my lap and my arm, and under her arms. Went down just beautiful. I don't know how far we got, but we got down part way, and the knot come out one of the sheets. So, zoom, I didn't have any sheets anymore. So I finally got ourselves slowed down. I thought I was tearing the hands right apart, that rope, but luckily I had a piece of sheet between the rope and my hands. So I finally got ourselves to settle down, so we went down a little slower. We got down to just a little ledge before ground, and all the sheets were going down ahead of us. We were pushing. They knotted up enough. We were locked right there, and there I sat with my arms holding the rope here, and my legs were pulled way up because that was all, say, a couple of Filipinos there got a little teeny stepladder, and they come up and rolled them off me, and I got off. We went down to, they took us down to a little building behind, a little cement building with a cement bench there, and we sat down and we were just kind of getting our bearings. And I looked around, and here come a couple Filipinos carrying a fellow under the arms and under the knees. And I said, "Mom, that's Cause." So they threw him up on the table there, and I tried to get up to see him, and it was a mob of people, and the guy turned around and says, I said, "I want to see my buddy." He said, "Believe me, sir, he's gone." So a little later, they had a little room right behind where we were sitting, and they said, "Is anybody able to identify bodies?" And I said, "Well, I know I can identify one." So I went back in that room, and they threw back the sheets, and that was my friend Cause, and I couldn't see any reason why he was not alive. I saw nothing of. The only thing that I could see, he had this black smudge marks where he'd been licking his lips. So I identified him, and then they pulled the sheets back one more body, and that was his wife. And she had long blonde hair and whatnot. That was muscled up. That's the only thing I saw. I have no idea why or how they died.
How'd you get from the ledge to the ground then?
Huh?
How'd you get from the ledge to the ground?
We were down that ladder, that little step ladder.
They put a ladder for you?
Yeah, that one guy had to climb up to get us, and it's only, just a short way. He said, like a little shed on the back or something.
That's quite a reunion.
Did
the place burn down then?
Oh yeah, I got a lot of pictures of it. We lost 9 guys.
Wow.
There were people jumping out of the windows. There were people jumping out, climbing down the wires, hanging on the side of the building. Yeah, it was not fun.
And this is where again? Whereabouts?
That was on Baguio in northern Luzon.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's, well,
Is it-
we were scheduled to go on to Korea or someplace after that. Well, first of all, there was an R&R camp. They had cottages there for the Air Force. They put us, Dolores and I, in one of them little cottages, but I couldn't. She laid down, but I couldn't. I was too wound up. I knew them terrorists were going to get me one way or the other, because they hadn't got us in World War II. Incidentally, they set the entire 4th floor on fire.
The terrorists did this?
Incendiary. The terrorists set. The Filipino government owned that hotel, but they also, police arrested 2 and them escaped from custody. So that we were scheduled to go to Korea or I don't know where, China. Anyway, we decided to go back. The only way we were scheduled to be in Hawaii for a 3-day, but we were supposed to be about 4 days later. We got back to Honolulu, and our hotel only had a room on the 16th floor. And that night, when you lay in bed, all you could see was the smoke and that rolling out of the ceiling. Anyway, we survived.
Wow. And the terrorists set the hotel on fire.
The terrorists set the hotel on fire. Yes, sir, the entire 4th floor.